Yeah, I have something to say to that. Me,
Yeah.
my initial thought when I kind of, but maybe she had been a victim, and so she was just so scared to face her own past and her own. So maybe seeing that happen to her own child, she still didn't know how to react or know that okay, that's not something that's supposed to happen. Because if we had a follow up, like somebody who doesn't expect that kind of thing or doesn't find it to, you'll be outraged just at the thought of it that you have to inspect everybody. And then maybe secondly, she just didn't know who to talk to. You know, sometimes you need a support system that you can talk to, or people that you can talk to and say, okay, I'm suspecting this. What do you think I should do? You know, I just, that's what I thought.
Okay, thanks so much. Um, yeah, I didn't even think about it from that angle that maybe she had been a victim herself, and maybe also the part you said about not having a support system or someone she felt she could confide in and talk about her suspicions. That must have also played a role. Any more thoughts on this
I
um,
just
outburst of behavior from the mom?
I just think that I think that at some point, right, us being women, when you hear that a man is physically abusive towards a child or towards another woman, it comes from a place of disregard. It comes from a place of asserting your authority on that person. And if that is the case, your usual instinct would be, okay, if this child so it comes from a place of asserting authority, and most physical abusers are sexually abusive. So if at any point in time, and I can totally understand the woman, because the mother, because if my friend or my sister or whoever tells me, oh, I have a person in my life who is being abusive towards me physically, my second impulse or my first impulse will be to ask this person, is this person abusing you sexually as well? Just, if someone is physically abusive, most of the men or women who are physically abusive, it comes from a place of trying to um, assert authority, show that person that I have power over you. And then the next gradient to physical abuse, or even the former gradient to physical abuse, is usually sexual abuse. So I can totally understand when the mom realized that the child was being beaten mercilessly, especially the girl child, and her instinct was, okay, if this child is being beaten, has, because that was like, to her, a moment of, aha, this is taking place in my house, it means there've been other things going on. And my I cannot totally understand that she thinks like, oh, if he's abusing her physically, then he must be abusing her sexually. No, because there's a correlation between physical abuse and sexual abuse most of the time. Predominantly, people who abuse people physically would abuse them sexually.
Okay, thanks so much, Dorothy. I think you made a salient point. I actually didn't make that correlation, but that could totally, it's very plausible that that's what could have been going on in the mom's mind. There's really in many cases a correlation between yeah, people who physically abuse me also at the same time be sexually abusing. So that could be an explanation for the mom's reaction. Thanks so much. Hannah, do you want to say something on this?
Yeah, about the, you mean about the mom not taking actions and rather asking the child if he's whipping you?
Yeah, if you have a take on that.
Yeah, I think also it's a lot to do with the African mom. I mean, the African mom, her role of being a mother, and the fact that they think that they don't. Most of African mothers, I'm not saying it's happening today. But if you see, like in general, they always assume that children are children, and what they are saying is nothing to kind of pay attention to, and they don't take in this kind of philosophy as children are first of all human beings. This is primarily, and secondarily that they are children. So when a child tell them he's beating me or he's abusing me, they don't take the children serious, because they always say, oh, these children, you have to discipline this child. Oh, this child is just lying. Oh, this child is this. So I in a way, I think the mom didn't take this very serious, because she was seeing it through a eye of oh, those children, they just like to make things up. Oh, those children, they don't even know what they are talking about. So in a way, I don't blame the mom, but as a mother, regardless what happens to your child, or what a child your child come and tell you, you have to be a lioness and see first to it before you make any kind of assumptions if the child is lying or not lying. So I think the mom here, she was a little bit apart, like she kind of, how will I say it, she gave too much power to this houseboy, and she didn't consider the children as loyal to what they are saying. Like it's something that she was not to engage in the spirit of her kids. She was like, the way I picture her in the book, she was living her life, and she was kind of like living this her nice life with this well-known man, and the children were not very much a big deal for her.
Okay. Thanks so much, Hannah, for your contribution. Um, yes, I agree. We really should do better about having to trust our children and being there to protect them. Um,
Mhm.
so okay, so we have just 30 minutes left. I just have a few more questions, and I really want to give room for anyone to pose their own case questions in case I probably didn't cover anything. But one thing I'd like us to talk about is George. Let's talk about the main predator in this book. So um, I want each and every one of us to comment on the kind of person he is, what kind of personality he has, why, what we think was going through his mind, why he felt so bold and empowered or courageous to carry out this abominable act, and to be so bold to do that under the nose of his employers. Um, what what would you say about the character, George? Who wants to
Such
start?
a bad boy.
I have already killed
Mm.
George in the book.
Hannah, now you're going to
So
jail in the book.
I no, I am looking out for a pastor to resurrect him, so I will kill him once again.
Okay, anyways, concerning George, I can answer, I can give my own input. The first thing I think about George is that first of all, he was too old and to be in that kind of position. I believe he was in his 20s. So I think to me, the blame goes both ways. Why is a 20-year-old, or I don't know, 27, if I recall well, a man from the time he was in his 20s to his 30s, still a houseboy? He's no longer a boy, he's a man. So you have a grown ass man in your house at that age. Nobody mentions about George having a girlfriend or having, a boyfriend if he was gay. So to me, I believe he had the courage because he was a grown man. It wasn't because it's a boy who was trying something. Secondly, he was old enough to understand the dynamics of the house and know he could do anything and get away with it. He's a manipulator, but then it was easy to manipulate because, yes, because he's a grown ass man. Another thing that I find, like, really annoying about him, I'm done with trying to kill him, is the fact that he wasn't accomplished in his life. A man who's accomplished, I believe, will have better satisfaction doing stuff that would better him than, being that insecure that he would have to like prey on little children. So to me, he was not only an unaccomplished man, but he was also insecure. An insecure man, and a man's security comes from his financial stance. So if he didn't have a financial stance, then he definitely didn't have what it takes to have a girlfriend. So he's insecure. He's a narcissist from the way that he manipulated people to like him and to trust him, to the point that they would not trust when a child says he attacks them. So he has those, like, characteristics of a big time narcissist, manipulator, and insecure person. And I believe still staying as a houseboy in that role at that age kind of reflects the kind of person he was. That's me.
Can I say
I
something?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brown. I really found your input very interesting. Okay.
I
Who's next?
think I think that's Hannah. I think George was a psychopath, and I think he also had a lot of frustration. God knows where he's coming from, and from what household he was coming from, and what he went through maybe as a child. But he had a lot of frustration in him, and like Mabi said, he was not an accomplished man, and I think that also made him more angry. A man at that age being a houseboy, so he was full of anger basically, and he could only take it all out on those kids. And the fact that he also got so much power from the parents by manipulating them, it even gave him more kind of like he got some kind of a status in the household by the disciplinary. So he executed his mission by beating those kids, and that gave him a lot of satisfaction. And that is totally wrong. And for now, I also killed the dad in the book along the way, together with George.
That's
So both of
funny.
them are basically gone.
Hi. Can I say something, please?
Hannah, thanks so much. That was
You're
that was
welcome.
yeah, funny
Hi.
and 10
Um,
times serious.
can I say something,
Okay.
please?
Who is next?
Irene,
Okay. Go ahead.
before I say what I think judges, I would like to say before we hire house boys or house help, we should also take into consideration their age. And I don't think there is a problem being 27 years and being a house help. I've been in a home that our house help was 30, but my father will house him and the wife. Like he hired those who are married and he house you with your wife. If you have kids, will house you. And I mean, so I would like to say George was already sexually active, maybe coming from the village, a lot of promiscuity going on in the village. So maybe he was already sexually active. Now that he's in town, having no one to commit his atrocities, KB was just the unfortunate one. Also, we should also take the into consideration as parents. I just think George is he's a heartless boy, or he's a heartless man, very wicked, doing that to, I mean, 8-year-old child for 4 years. I mean, he had no feeling for me, so heartless. That's just what I can say. And I
Absolutely.
had to wear
Thanks,
the blood of
Karim.
my daughter. She's just 9 years, and I was so scared. Like, what if somebody does this to my daughter? I mean, it was so hard reading the book. Oh my god.
Didn't George mention that he was married with kids in the village?
No, I didn't read
I
that.
didn't read that part.
I didn't.
I think that's one of the things that he told Kemi, that if Kemi told the parents,
KB.
then he
Yeah,
would
Well,
yeah,
need
he
to
will
I
take
guess
care
lose.
of his
you're
children.
coping
Of
with
his
you.
family. He
Yeah,
was
that he
not
will lose
married.
his
He was
income
married
Yeah.
to
to take care
provide
of
to his
Oh,
family. Yes,
right. I think there was something along those lines.
to
yeah.
provide for
Okay.
his family like
This is
marriage.
when he was giving the crocodile tears.
Right.
I have a
True.
question, Linda. I don't know
Y-
if you have. Okay, maybe time for question is coming. Okay.
Yes. So I have, let me see, I have two more. I mean, I have more than that, but I'm
I,
going to
I,
keep it to two.
I wanted to react to
We
both.
just have 20 minutes.
Go ahead.
You're
I wanted to I
Yeah.
wanted to quickly react to this because the, I just want to say something that we totally try to sweep under the carpet. The family concept with extended families and with house helps and drivers and exposing our kids to strangers and trying to incorporate them into our family as we do in Africa is a breeding ground for abuse. It is
Mm-hmm.
a breeding ground for abuse. It is. I cannot tell you how many people I know how many young girls who were fingered by their house helps, how many young guys who whose dicks were sucked by their older house helps. I cannot tell you how many. I have met so many people who have talked about abuse by house helps, and that is something that we in like in our African concept of home and household and occupants in our household, we try to turn a blind eye on that, you know. But I think that in itself, in itself, is the essence of this book. It's trying to tell you that when you rip open this roof that we call the house or a home, it really is a breeding ground for abuse because Kebi was not only abused by George, but also by her father's friend, her uncle. You know, it shows everything that goes on in this concept of family and people we embrace in our homes.
But the
Yeah.
other thing, I don't think it's only in Africa. It's a universal concept. If you look at most rape cases, it's usually someone who is close to the family. It could be a family friend. It could be
Mm.
a relative. It's not just an African thing. But you are right in the sense that we have to be careful about, the way we define family and the way we bring in strangers into the family.
Mm.
But even here in Europe, all over, most cases, if you have a house help that has been with the family the person is considered as family. Even with our au pairs, people who have been cleaning your house. For example, you have a cleaning lady who has been cleaning your house for years. That person becomes part of your family.
Yes,
Okay, so
Bole,
so
I
I'll
totally
just for
concur.
because of time. So I have two more questions. I really want. I think they're really pertinent. So we'll
Okay.
just go ahead. So there is this thing: victims of child abuse are at high risk of it happening again, especially when the new perpetrator is aware of their abusive past. Why is that? Why I ask this question is because even years later, when KB moved to the United Kingdom, and there was this family friend, and she confided in him and told him of her abusive past. Guess what? The guy tried to rape her, and it was just by the I don't know by some miracle that she escaped this. You guys know the scene I'm talking about, right? When everybody else had
Yeah.
gone away during the Christmas break, and this guy, she trusted him, and he came over, and for some reason, I don't know, he felt like he could do what he wanted to do, and um, by some miracle, Kidi could escape from that. But not every not every victim is this fortunate. Some people get raped again. So why does this phenomenon occur? Like, why is it that such people are at high risk?
Because their defenses have been broken down, Linda. Their defenses have been broken down. There are two things that would happen to a rape victim. It's either you erect your defense in a way that no one can penetrate through the walls of defense, or two, your defense is broken down in such a way that you become vulnerable and you kind of like seem weak and like in Kebi's case, right? She even growing up as a woman, she had the difficulty to speak out, to tell someone stop, because she she's gone through episodes in her life where that stop has not been heard time and time and time again. You
Mhm.
know.
Thanks so much, Dorothy. I think you did make some valid points about, yeah, just what you said. So
Now who the cook for the middle night, so
mute,
It's me.
Hannah.
Yeah.
Can you mute when you're not talking? You like click on this
Yeah.
microphone. I
Okay.
okay.
Okay. I'll leave the kitchen.
Does anyone else have anything to say about this phenomenon that we see occurring quite often?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
okay.
I was just going to say that even at the clinic where she was supposed to take the blood samples, she also had an episode where she was very vulnerable. She couldn't even
Mhm.
shut tell that patient to shut the fuck up, and she kept on being very nice and polite to him, which it came to a point that he could even pat her shoulder 2 or 3 times. So like my other sister they was saying, all her defense mechanism is totally broken. So it's kind of a syndrome. The victims, rape victims, and children who went through abuse carry along the way. It's a syndrome of kind of they lose their voice. They can't speak up.
Absolutely. Thanks